Happy Sunday, fellow YouTubers. Today, actually, I had a question the other day from somebody about, my experience as a woman writer and, what things did I find difficult and, how did I learn the basics. So I was going to answer those questions, and then I realized it was kind of a lengthy post. So I decided instead to make a little video on it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. Okay, so I had a couple questions that were asked of me. What kind of things did I find difficult when I was learning to ride? And, what kind of basics was I taught in the beginning? Okay, so I think the best way to kind of answer those questions is to really start at the very beginning and give you the basics about me and my progression as a writer, where I started and that type of thing. So, first of all, let me tell you a little bit of demographics here. Let's see. I am 5'4". I weigh about 135 pounds. Let's see. And I am 55 years old. I began riding about the age of about 11. My parents brought home a little Honda. I think it was a Honda 55. It looked like a Trail 90, but it was actually a 55. And for my brother and I to kind of share. And we played on that a lot, had fun with it. Well, pretty soon they got my brother an XL 175, and they went and they got me an XR 80. And so that was my first real experience. I had a blast with that. That little bike was truly amazing. And so I rode it, throughout my teens. Then I, grew up, sort of. And I began having kids, and I don't know, for those of you who know me, you know that I had kids really young. My oldest was born when I was 17. And then I had 4 kids, and so I didn't ride for a long time. Because I was busy raising kids, and most of that time I was a single mom, and really felt the responsibility of that. Even though I was quite young, I really worried that, if something happened to me, I had kids to raise. And so I didn't ride for a long time. I think I had an XL 185 in my 20s that I rode around some, and that was fun. I can remember riding my daughter to kindergarten on that bike. So my progression as a rider had a whole lot of starts and stops. I never had any kind of formal training when I was young. Not any. No, it was get on the bike and figure it out, and that's what I did. I'll never forget the first time I crashed it, actually. One of my hand grips came off, and, I was all of, 13 maybe, 12. And I lost my hand grip, my hand flew backwards, and I crashed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've crashed. And of course I wasn't hurt. So then again, when did I start really riding again after taking a, 30-year hiatus? Not quite that long, but a long time. I started riding again about 10 years ago. My husband and I were at a friend's house, and my husband managed to unearth an old KLR 250 that had been sitting in a shipping container for some time. And the tank was all rusted on it, and the friend just said, just take it. So he proudly loaded it into the truck and brought it back, and I'm like, I don't know about this. But we brought it back to life, and I rode that for a while. The only thing is, that was from about 1989, 90. And so it was, of course, kickstart, and it was cantankerous as hell about starting. So I think that prevented me from enjoying it a bit. Not that I can't kickstart it, but it just was always such a chore. Then, let's see, we moved. I was, at work, I think one day, my husband called me and he said, hey, I have a friend that wants to know if you want to buy a Ninja 250. I'm like, oh, heck yeah. So then I ended up with this Ninja 250. And I rode it around for a year or so and had a blast with that. Oh, that was a fun little bike. Of course, that was a street bike. I didn't take that off-road. But then somewhere along the line, I started watching, Ewan and Charlie and their Long Way Around series. And I thought, oh, that looks like fun, the whole adventure bike thing. And so then I thought, maybe I could get a BMW, maybe be kind of low to the ground like my Ninja. And yet, I'd have some knobby tires and I could take it off-road. So I thought, yeah, that would be the answer, a little GS. I'd never had a BMW before, but I thought, why not? So I ended up going down and I bought brand new from Ozzy's BMW in Chico, California. I bought a G650 GS. And I rode it around for a couple of years, a little bit here and there. And it was kind of heavy, you know? And the only reason I bought the 650 was because they didn't have a smaller displacement bike at the time. But, so I bought this little 650. It was always maybe a little bit big and a little bit heavy for me. But I tried anyway. Well, anyway, then we moved to Missouri. And I was at work one day, and somebody said, hey, you got to check out the BMW dealer here in St. Louis, because he's the best. So I thought, oh, wow, cool. So I went to the website. I thought, well, let's check this out. So I went to Gateway BMW's website, and the first thing, on the website was the G310 GS. I thought, oh, look at that. Small displacement. That's what I need. So I told my husband about it, and he's like, yeah, let's go check it out. So we did. I ended up trading my 650 in, and I got this little G310, and I rode it for a couple years. And it was a lot of fun. I had a great time with that. But then I started noticing that, what I started out with was really riding on the road, and the GS was really fine for that. Not that it's not fine for off-road, because let me tell you, I took mine off-road plenty. But I found that I wanted something that was more off-road than on. That what I was wanting to do had changed some, and I really liked being off-road. And so I ended up looking around, found a great deal on a WR250R, brand new. So 2019, so I bought that. And then eventually I found that I didn't ride my GS at all, so I sold it. And so that was all good. But meanwhile, on the other end of things, and about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my husband came home. So in the dirt world, let's go back to the dirt bike world. So let's see, about, 10, 11 years ago, I was at a yard sale in Redding, California. And I found a couple little dirt bikes there for a sweet deal. So I ended up buying them. I bought a little CR85 for my son Jesse to ride. And a little DRZ 125, both of them low hours, good shape. Anyway, so a little DRZ 125. At the time, Jacob was about 11 years old, and he was tiny. And it was actually a little bit big for him. So that we ended up picking up a PW80 that he learned to ride on a little bit more. Not that he didn't ride the DRZ, because he did. But it was just a little much for him. So we got this little PW80. He had a blast on that. And then I ended up riding the DRZ. So for a few years, off and on, I was the one out there riding a little DRZ 125. I didn't mind it. It was fun. We took it out to St. Joe's and had fun with it. But Robert, my husband, felt kind of bad for me because, here this little old bike is, with nothing good, no good suspension, and, he felt bad for me. I didn't know what I was missing. But he surprised me for our anniversary with a brand new KX100. And, oh boy, that was fun. I could tell the minute I got on it that I was going to have a blast on that. And I did. Oh my God, that was so much fun. So I rode that. And had a good time on it. And I won't say that I rode it to its whole ability and that I was just through with it. Because, in truth, I really wasn't. It's just that there were some times where it really wasn't quite enough. It had the little small wheels on it, and it wasn't quite enough to do some of the things I was trying to do. And so my husband and a friend of ours started kind of talking about it, and my friend Kevin suggested, hey, what about a cross trainer? I'd never even heard of it, to be honest. I'd heard of Beta. I knew what Beta was, but I didn't know about the cross trainer. And I thought it was crazy, because 300cc, and here I am riding 100, and it's two-stroke. Yikes. But I started reading about it and realizing that the power band's different on this bike, and that it was actually pretty mellow. And so I started kind of researching it and ended up buying it. So I've had this since November. I just looked, I've got 15 hours on it, and that's just been a little bit here and there because honestly the weather has not really been conducive for much riding since I bought it. So there's my progression in which bikes I've had. Now, how did I learn to ride? Well, like I said initially, I just learned by trial and error. Get on the bike, see what happens. And I think because I had that background, I remembered how to ride. I knew how to shift and maneuver the bike and stuff. Was I ever particularly good? I don't know. I don't really think so. But I know I had a lot of fun with it. And I think that was really the most important thing in all of it. Are you having fun? Because if you're having fun, who cares if you are an incredibly skillful rider? If you're having fun, that is the most important thing. Okay, so then, I've done a few little training classes. I did a GS Challenge with Gateway BMW a couple different times on my BMW. That was fun. There was some actual instruction with that, so that was good. I did a motocross class. My husband dragged me to that. Now, let me tell you, those jumps were terrifying. I don't think I ever actually jumped any of the big jumps. I just rode them. That's all. And I think that's about it for instruction. But you know what? We have 3 miles of trails on our property, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of riding the trails. And I ride them a lot, Later in the summer, I'm better than I am in the first part of the spring when I first get back on the bike. I know that my confidence is lacking and my skills are too. And by the end of the year, I ride halfway decent. So what is the main reason to ride well? In my opinion, so that other people will want to ride with me. That bottom line. And so that I don't, crash any more than I have to. And believe you me, let me talk about crashing. I crash often. My poor bike, day one, I laid it down 2 or 3 times. I dumped it going over a log the first day I had it. And and by the way, that was a log that I went over often on my KX. So it's not like I was, really stretching my abilities, because I really wasn't. But I do. I drop it all the time. And in fact, I'm always kind of laughing about it and saying, I always have bruises from something because I frequently drop my bike. And I think you got to get over, I think that's a big thing, is getting over fear of dropping it. Now, my husband and my son and I were all talking about learning a better way to fall, because I'm terrible at falling. I always throw my hands out. And, that's not good. I have messed up wrists as a result from that, and I'm just, one of these days I'm probably going to hurt myself. For serious. So yeah, learning to roll with a fall would be great. So what kind of things do I find difficult? Yeah, falling, right? What else do I find difficult? Oh gosh, I think the number one most difficult thing for women riders, and I don't mean to be stereotyping anyway. So if you're a woman rider and this isn't your problem, disregard. And good for you. I'm glad you don't have that problem. But this is a problem of mine, and that is overcoming fear. Getting out of your own head. Yeah, seriously, that is the number one thing. Is to get out of your own head, quit thinking about the what ifs, and just do it. Just do it. So yeah, fear. Fear can kind of prevent us from doing all sorts of things, from trying things. If you can just say, you know what, I'm going to do it and see what happens. You'll progress a lot faster. Most of us, if you just do it, you find that you actually have enough skill or good luck or you can get up enough momentum to just do it. Really, that's all it takes. And the more you're able to do things or manage to somehow, the more confidence you develop. And once you get some confidence, I'll tell you what, your riding skills will improve exponentially fast. So overcoming fear, getting out of my own head, that was a big deal. Body positioning, learning how to position my body was a big deal. I think that's important. The number one thing that has helped me more than anything when it comes to body positioning and, how to maneuver, handle the bike, move around, be fluid on it. I'll tell you what, the number one thing that's helped me more than anything with that is my trials bike. I'll tell you what, I picked up a trials bike almost a year ago, and that thing has been wonderful. course, it just left us in the lurch. It wouldn't start. So it's not always reliable, but it is fun. It is fun. And so anytime there's some section that I can't quite make on my dirt bike, if I just go out and get my trials bike and do it on my trials bike a few times, you know what? I can do it on anything then. So that is like my most favorite training tool is my trials bike. And it's fun in its own accord, even if it weren't for training for riding my dirt bike. I mean, it's fun for, it'd be fun to ride trials too. So I've done a few trials classes, and those are those are great too. So the other thing, and I'm always saying this to the people I ride with because this has been my big bugaboo, is forgetting to look ahead. Too often we're riding and we're looking at our front fender, looking to see what's right ahead of us. And when in truth, we'd ride much smoother if we ignored that which was right in front of us and looked off a distance ahead. Just like you do when you drive your car, a little tracking. It's a great thing. And staying loose. I always say that, stay loose and look ahead. So look out ahead and keep your hands loose with the handlebars. Don't death grip anything. Let everything just roll. When you roll over rocks, it won't even bother you. If you got a death grip, on the other hand, it will. And that's when you will have problems. The other thing, oftentimes if you shift up into a higher gear, you'll smooth everything right out. That said, I'm putting along in a low gear right now. I probably need to shift. Let's do that. So typically, just shifting into a higher gear smooths everything out and you go faster because of that. Not necessarily because you're in a higher gear, but because you smooth it out and you go a little faster. So standing up on the pegs, that's huge. So in fact, I find that people should know whenever I'm a little nervous about something or worried about my own ability, they should be able to tell that I'm worried about it because I'm up on the pegs. Not to say that that's not a great thing anyway. You want to fix your balance, fix all your issues, have your bike run better, put it where you want it, get up on the pegs. All right, so difficulties. Yeah, the biggest thing has been getting out of my own head and looking too close ahead instead of looking out into the distance. I think those are my biggest challenges, and just overcoming fear. There's a spot on our own property with kind of a vertical wall, and you have to get a run at it in about 20 feet and head up it. I'll tell you what, just doing that, just forcing myself to, go fast into a wall is a struggle for me. So forcing yourself to do things. What's the biggest problem when teaching women specifically, probably anybody truthfully, but especially women, to ride? Oh gosh. Number one, make it fun. Make it fun, Don't worry too much about riding perfect. Don't worry too much about, doing everything, by the book. Just have fun. If you can have fun with it, that'll be the most important thing, even if you don't go fast. If it's fun, you'll want to go back. Number two, watch out with women especially becoming overwhelmed. So sometimes for women, and I think most men have struggled to understand this, it's not that we women don't have the endurance to ride trails for 3 hours straight, because oftentimes, we could, but we tend to become overwhelmed. And then it's not fun anymore, and we don't want to do it, and then we just want to stop. And it's not because we're tired so much, although there may be a component of that also. There's a whole lot of just feeling overwhelmed. And that's another thing too, is that one of the best people out there, I think, to watch for training tips right now is Megan Griffiths. Her channel is Meg's Brap, and she's kind of amazing. So I always recommend all, women riders go check out what she's got, because she makes some really good training videos. All right, so it was great taking you through the trails. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and talk to you later.